everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm super excited to be sharing my ILNP summer haul. As I'm sure so many of you know, I have reviewed a number of ILNP collections on my channel. Most recently, like this past year, I've looked at a few older collections and I am glad that you do all enjoy them, but with doing my recent video on polishes I regret buying and just being like more mindful about what I'm actually getting and adding to my collection, I wanted to just buy some polishes that I have had on my radar, in my wish list for a while now, that are basically from different collections from over the years. So I'm really excited to talk about them. As always, I will save more of that for the end of the video after some comparisons, but for now, let's just get into the swatches. The first shade I have is On Location, which I believe is from the summer 2018 collection. I remember seeing this one in one of ILNP's famous swatch videos and just finding it so incredibly stunning. It's described as a fiery orange coral jelly base with a golden shimmer and a scattered hollow micro glitter. This one has the usual flawless formula where it's very even coverage on the first coat alone, just obviously a little bit sheer, but it does build up really nicely on just 2 coats, where I definitely think it's passable if you don't mind seeing some nail line. Obviously, since my nails are a little bit longer, I decided to go in with a 3rd coat, and it's not fully opaque by any means, but I think there's just so much beautiful coverage and color and shimmer going on that it doesn't really matter to me. I think this color is just so beautiful, so perfect for summer, and I can't tell if my bottle is just a little darker or maybe it's just my lighting, but I feel like this one didn't have that same corally pink pop that I was expecting. Like some of the online swatch photos look a little bit brighter, but I still really like this one. Next I have Misbehaving, which is from the Summer Jellies 2017 collection. So you might remember me including this one in my initial Black Friday wishlist video last year, but I ended up saving it since I was planning on buying a lot of deeper wintry shades and this just would not have fit in. So I'm so happy to finally have this one, since I'm sure you know I love me a sparkly hot pink jelly in the summertime. This had another lovely formula that was super easy to apply and build up. I think it provided really great coverage on just 2 coats alone, where it wasn't as glassy as other jelly polishes, for example, where you see straight through to your nail line. Like there still is a little hint of it, but I just don't think it's enough to need a 3rd coat personally. But yeah, I just love how bright this one is. The next pink I have is Kiss and Tell, which is a warm-toned flamingo pink linear hollow that was originally from the Summer Ultra Hollows 2018 collection. So I do already have a few linear pink hollows in my collection, but they're all more cool-toned, so I feel like I was just missing a warmer pink, and I thought this one was just so perfect. This one had another beautifully smooth and full coverage formula where it's not as opaque as maybe other linears are, but you can easily build it up in 2 coats. Though I will say I feel like there is a little hint of nail line, but the hollow flare is just so strong, even under like desk lighting, that it really doesn't bother me too much. And the last pink that I picked up was kind of a last minute add-on because I always see people recommending this one, and that's Sweet Pea from their Spring 2016 collection. So this is definitely quite the oldie but classic shade. It's described as a soft seashell pink jelly base with a silver holographic flaky. You might know I'm generally a big fan of this particular finish from ILNP, but I was always on the fence about this shade since I thought it would just be a little too plain, maybe? I mean, as you saw on the first coat, it was kind of giving nothing with how sheer it is, but the soft pink color does build up nicely in 2 and especially 3 coats. I feel like this is just a super elegant and classy kind of neutral blush shade, like a barely there color, but with a little bit of sparkle. I don't think it's my favorite kind of sheer neutral, but it definitely is pretty, so I can see why so many people love it. Next up I have Funshine Smoothie, and I actually don't know what collection or year this is from, but it's described as a funky and fun bright yellow linear hollow polish with a golden yellow shimmer. So I haven't seen that many swatches of Funshine Smoothie, and they only have 3 on their website for this one. The one on the lightest skin tone definitely looks super bright, so I was kind of hoping for that, and when I first opened the box I was a little worried because I feel like it had a bit of a dingy look. I don't know if it's just because of the linear hollow in this like lighter sort of base color, similar to how hollow in a white polish will make it sort of look gray. So I'm not entirely convinced that I love this one on me, but I think the gold shimmer does help kind of brighten it up, and it has a nice formula, but yeah, I'm kind of on the fence. Next I grabbed a couple of blues, starting with Aria, which is described as a sky blue ultra holographic nail polish. I believe this was from the 2017 Ultra Hollows collection in the spring. ILNP's hollows are absolutely stunning. I love that you can see the hollow flare even under just your desk lighting, because I know a lot of people just are completely turned off from hollows because they really shine the best in direct sunlight, which unfortunately not everybody has or experiences every day. And so wearing them indoors, they're usually kind of dull, but I don't think all holographic polishes are the same, and ILNP is definitely one of the best. This one was basically the blue version of Kiss and Tell, so it was opaque in 2 coats. Next I have Music Box, and this was from the spring 2014 collection, so probably the oldest one from my haul, but it's described as a soft, gorgeous teal polish with an intense turquoise shimmer and a scattered holographic effect. This one I would say comes in a little bit more of a crelly base, where you can see on the first coat it's a lot more pigmented than some of the other polishes. There is a hint of nail line, but for the most part it's pretty full and even coverage. I got it nearly opaque in 2 coats, so I think if your nails are shorter than mine, this is a solid 2-coater. I thought the color was super beautiful, but this definitely doesn't match the bottle shot that's on the website, which is unfortunate because that looks like a beautiful, vibrant kind of teal. This leans a little bit more like a robin's egg blue for me, but it's still pretty. I will say that the hollow is definitely more subtle in this one. And the last shade that I picked up was Blue Lagoon, which was from the Tropics collection in summer of 2021. This one's described as a glistening teal holographic jelly filled with this golden iridescent shimmer, but I personally would call this almost more of like a microflake formula. Some of ILNP's shimmers are definitely on the large size. Either way though, it is an absolutely beautiful shade. I will say it's not picking up 100% color accurate. I feel like I just really struggle capturing the greens in teal shades. They just always pull a lot more blue than they actually are. I don't know if that's a problem with all iPhones or just my setup specifically. So imagine this having a little bit more green in it. It is just so stunning. This one had another super flawless formula that builds up so beautifully, so evenly. I decided to stop at 2 coats for this one, even though there is some nail line. I just didn't think it was necessary to do a 3rd. And here it is with some adjusted lighting, so you can see how that golden yellow iridescent flaky shifts to green. It is so beautiful. Now getting into comparisons, we're starting with On Location, and I wanted to quickly show this next to Brightside, which was the orange from the Cabana collection. To me, that one just leaned a little too pumpkin-y orange, so I really do prefer how much more coral On Location is. I thought for more fitting color comparisons, I could show this next to Holo Taco's Private Villa, but you can see that one leans a lot more of like a reddy hot pink base. It does have a similar kind of gold shimmer, but there's also pink reflective glitter, so they're not that close. So it's actually a lot closer to Jam Session from their more recent Rock Candy collection. That one has a similar kind of color base, maybe a little bit more muted, but it also has a different kind of hollow sparkle and a different color shimmer. So if anything, I guess they could be cousins, but I think the closest that I had in my collection is Holo Taco's Encryption Key, which was sadly retired. I would say that the base colors in these 2 polishes are nearly identical, and Encryption Key also does have have a golden shimmer. It's one of their lighter multi-chrome kind of shades. The only thing it's really missing is that scattered holo that's in On Location. But other than that, I would say that they're pretty similar, where if you missed Encryption Key, On Location I think would be a pretty decent alternative. Maybe you would want to add a coat of Halogen Glow just for a little bit more of that golden shimmer. I did also want to show this one next to Cirque's Velvet Rope from their Cosmic Discotheque collection a few years ago. I didn't realize how similar these were going to be, where Velvet Rope is just ever so slightly more red. It's not as corally as On Location is. And kind of similar to Encryption Key, the golden shimmer is a bit stronger in Cirque than it is in ILNP. But they do also have a very similar scattered holographic effect, so there's some minor differences between them where I don't think you would need both, but let me know which one you prefer. Then for Misbehaving, I knew I had to show this next to Holo Taco's Life in Plastic from last year's retro anniversary collection. It's a Barbie pink jelly base with a scattered holographic micro glitter. So to the naked eye, I can definitely see these looking like dupes, but they're not. Misbehaving actually has more of an irregular, flaky kind of holo particle, and then Life in Plastic has more of a uniform micro glitter. But again, I really think that's more noticeable if you have like an up close macro kind of shot. From far away, they both just look like sparkly hot pink jellies, but Misbehaving is a little bit warmer and brighter. Definitely still a good alternative if you missed Life in Plastic. I also had to show this next to ILNP's Playdate from their Splashed collection a few summers ago. That one was another hot pink sort of jelly flaky polish, but as you can see, it is a little bit deeper. I wouldn't call Misbehaving a neon per se, but it definitely is a lot brighter than Playdate, and I would say it's a little bit more opaque as well. And lastly, I wanted to see if I could recreate Misbehaving by using ILNP's Malibu from their watercolor collection. It's a hot pink jelly polish, so I used that to sandwich Holo Taco's Flaky Holo Taco, which I only did one coat of and it just wasn't enough flakies, but either way, Malibu's just a lot darker than Misbehaving. Then for Kiss and Tell, I wanted to show this next to Mooncat's Not Today Satan, which is basically a dupe for ILNP's Evermore. It's just the closest light pink linear holo that I had, and you can see it is a lot more cool toned. But then I remembered I also had Holo Taco's Coral Chaser, which isn't a pink, it's coral, and I was a little nervous seeing them in the bottle here side by side. I thought they were going to be a little too similar, but once you see them on the nail, you can definitely tell all three apart. So I'm really happy to not have duped myself with this one. Kiss and Tell really is that warm linear holo pink that I was just missing in my collection. Next for Sweet Pea, I wanted to quickly show this next to Knitted from the Winter Resort collection. I thought these were going to be a lot more similar. I forgot how light Knitted was, and that one's a little bit more opaque too, so definitely not dupes. If anything, Sweet Pea is a little bit closer to Holding Hands from the Sweetheart bundle last Valentine's Day. Not this past one, but last year. It's another cool toned kind of pink, but you can see it's just like a totally different shade where it's more orchid, less mauve-y. If anything, I think it's a little bit more similar to Picture Polish's Musical, which I just recently swatched on my channel. But if you saw that video, you know that one is fully opaque, so Sweet Pea is almost like the jelly version of Musical. Here I'm showing one coat, and even Holding Hands has a lot more coverage. It's a little bit more on the Crelly formula, so it's easier to build up to full opacity if you were to do like 3 coats, for example. But again, with Sweet Pea, you're just gonna see pretty much straight through to your nail line just because of how sheer it is. So even though it looks really similar in the bottle to Picture Polish, it definitely isn't a dupe. Then for Funshine Smoothie, I of course had to show this next to Sunburst, which was from the recent Cabana collection. That one does not have any holographic sparkle, it's just described as like a large shimmer particle. But for some reason, I just didn't love that one, even though looking at these side by side, it definitely looks a lot brighter. But for a closer comparison, I have Holo Taco's Lemon Sucker, which is their OG linear holo formula. While that one is definitely very flawless with its coverage being a near one coater. It is a little bit darker than Funshine Smoothie because it doesn't have any additional gold shimmer. So again, I feel like it just isn't my favorite shade of yellow, but I think out of the three, I do like Funshine Smoothie the best. Then for Aria, I had to show this next to Holo Taco's Hydropower, which is their teal linear holo. While it definitely looks pretty similar in the bottle here, you might be able to tell that it's a bit darker actually. The only kind of light blue holo that I have is from Cirque. It's called Tropical Twist, which is a Smarties collab polish from a few years ago. And I thought that was going to be a little bit more similar, but it's more of like a true almost denim blue. It's definitely closer than Hydropower is because again, that one's more of like a darker teal kind of color. And it might be a little hard to see here just because of the holo flares. It's just all very sparkly. So I wanted to include a clip in more low lighting and you can just see how much more icy looking Aria is. The only other similar blues that I had to this were ILNP's Seaside and Blowing Bubbles from their Splashed and Under the Sea collections respectively, but those have more of a scattered holographic flaky effect. Maybe Blowing Bubbles has both a linear and scattered holo, but either way it just does not compare to the strong ultra holographic effect that Aria has. It really does live up to the finish name being ultra holos, but even still, I think Aria is a little bit icy or lighter. Then for Music Box, I wanted to quickly show this next to Riding Waves, which is one of my favorites from ILNP. That one's more of a true sea foamy turquoise jelly flaky formula though, so it's not anything like Music Box, which is a lot more blue. So I think the closest shade that I had though was Cirque's Cerrillos, which is pretty similar. I was honestly surprised. I almost forgot that I had this Cirque in my collection. Thankfully, it's not a dead-on dupe because Cirque's is a little bit deeper, but they're definitely in that same kind of color family where I don't think you would need both. And lastly, for Blue Lagoon, I knew I had to show this next to Holo Taco's Never Tied Down from last year's vacation collection. These two, I would say, are like sister polishes where there are a lot of similarities between them, but they are not dupes. I'm showing them in 1 and then 2 coats so you can see the difference in the amount of flakies and shimmer, where Holo Taco is definitely a lot more packed. Blue Lagoon only has those iridescent flakies and they look a little bit more sparse on the first coat, but they obviously build up to be more full coverage. But I think you can see a little bit more nail line with Blue Lagoon than you can with Never Tied Down. I think I would say Blue Lagoon is a little bit deeper, but other than that, they're pretty similar. Holo Taco definitely has a lot more going on though, so if you want something a bit more complex, I would go with that one. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons of my ILNP summer haul. So as always, I would love to know what you think of the shades that I picked up, especially if you have them in your collection or if they've been in your wish list. Last year when I did my Black Friday wish list video for ILNP, I had only, I think, Misbehaving and maybe one of the blues in my wish list, but I decided to save them because the other shades I was picking up were just a lot more winter appropriate with how dark they were. And I was like, there's so many other shades I would love to get from ILNP one day, so I just decided to build a summer kind of wish list. And I know this color palette is definitely pretty reminiscent of the Cabana collection, at least in my mind it is. Maybe I'm biased, but I would like to say that I like my lineup a little bit more than the Cabana release. But overall, I'm definitely pretty happy with them. The only one that I'm still kind of, I guess, on the fence about is Funshine Smoothie, just because I feel like it's not my ideal yellow holo, but I do like it the best compared to the other yellows that I shared, so that's good at least. But yeah, I hope you found the comparisons helpful. The only one that I really had the intention of like possibly being a dupe for something else in my collection was Misbehaving, but it was kind of funny to see in my comparison portion just how many similar polishes I already had to these shades. Thankfully, I didn't fully dupe myself with any of them, but I feel like they are kind of close. So I feel like I'm kind of towing the line between regretting some of them, but also justifying keeping them because they are unique to my collection. But I'm definitely curious to know what you think. So make sure to leave me any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.